The Florida Gators transfer portal class is all but wrapped up, and I am a fan of it.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever listen to the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen, lifelong Florida Gators fan, the host of Locked On Gators, and we got a little bit of an earlier live stream than we usually get for you. I know we usually do these at like noon Eastern time. It is currently 10 a.m. Eastern time, but I figured we got this, then we got basketball coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So, I wanted to give people a little bit of a break between them. Morning, Toby. I wanted to give people a little bit of a break between this and the basketball game, which, by the way, when the Florida Gators play the Vanderbilt Commodores today, we will be going live immediately following that game, which will hopefully be a big win for the Florida Gators. I was really hoping that Vanderbilt was going to be 17-0 going into this one, but they dropped the game to Texas on Tuesday night. So Tuesday or Wednesday, but they dropped the game to Texas. So not undefeated going into it, but 16-1, gonna be a good one. What's up, Connor? What's up, Mac? How you guys doing? But the Florida Gators recruiting class has mostly wrapped up, right? It's mostly done, which isn't surprising. The transfer portal window has closed, but it's weird. So players yesterday needed to submit the paperwork to enter the transfer portal. That deadline was last night at midnight Eastern time. Was again the deadline to want to enter the transfer portal. We don't need a break. You could have just stayed live through this show into the basketball live show. I think I would need a break from that, which I'll talk about in a second. No, I don't even think I need to. Some or all the way wrapped up. Some, most. But yeah, so the deadline to enter the transfer portal. What's up, Leonard? Good morning. The deadline to enter the transfer portal was yesterday at midnight Eastern time, or I guess last night at midnight Eastern time. But schools have 48 hours to submit the official paperwork to put the players into the transfer portal. And that means, or 48 business hours. So that means that over the next few days, going into, as one of our SEC hosts pointed out, also Monday's a holiday. So going into Wednesday, because I know On3 tweeted that schools will have through Tuesday to submit names because it's 48 business hours. But it's actually through Wednesday because Monday's a holiday. So you'll see names entering the transfer portal over the next few days. I don't think you'll see any massive names coming out because I feel like that would have been like a Darian Mensah situation last night or Prince Willem on Mielen, where, it comes out like a big name like that. You're going to hear about it. But you could see some more rotational level or depth level players that enter the transfer portal. And for Florida, that's been an important part for them, right? When you talk about the starters that Florida has brought in, yeah, they've brought in a few guys that we'll say are starter quality. Emmanuel Ibadejo is one of those who I'll send the link into the chat right now. But just a little while ago, I had my scouting report come out on swampsignal.substack.com about transfer portal defensive lineman Emmanuel Ibadejo, and it's my scouting report of him coming out. But I think he's a starter quality player. I think that Harrison Moore, offensive lineman from Georgia Tech, is a starter quality player. I think TJ Shanahan from Penn State, offensive lineman, is a starter quality player. I think that Aaron Philo is obviously going to be competing for the starting job against Tramel Jones, and Aaron Philo is potentially considered the favorite in that one, or should be considered the favorite in that one, but that does not mean that he's going to win it. Cam Dooley and DJ Coleman are both safeties that I view as starter quality players. Eric Singleton Jr. is obviously a starter quality player at receiver. And that's, that's your class, right? That's the class you have for Florida. as far as who's starter quality players. They brought in more than that. like they brought in considerably more than that. And the reason that we go, okay, like those aren't starter quality players is the transfer portal approach that Jon Sumrall has, right? Because the transfer portal approach that Jon Sumrall has or has had throughout his career at Troy and Tulane has been, I need to go in and get a ton of players that can contribute. I need to go in and get guys that can be starters. I need to go in and get guys that can be rotational players. And I need to get guys that can come in and be depth that may never see the field. Okay. That's what he had to do at Troy and Tulane because all his good players got poached. Right? All his good players got poached because they were G5 programs. You know, Troy's in the Sun Belt. What's up, T? T said drop a like, people, please. So yeah, go ahead, drop a like. Like I said, you guys are way better at bringing up likes and everything than I am. But Jon Sumrall, when he's at Troy, was winning games, and that's in the Sun Belt. And so bigger group of 5 programs and P4 programs went, okay, let's just pay him more. Right? Because that's the big selling point at that point for those level of players, like Sun Belt guys, is okay, let's go pay them more because now they're going to play a more difficult conference and they're going to make more money. And so that's a big selling point. Then at Tulane, I mean, Darian Mensah left for Duke and was, paid, I think they said it was $4 million per year to go to Duke. It was supposed to be a 2-year contract, but of course he is almost definitely going to Miami at this point. They had Mekhi Hughes, running back, who lit it up at Tulane, went to Oregon, and ended up playing so little that he opted out for the rest of the season to transfer, which good indicator of, grass isn't always greener. And so they lost a bunch of players at Tulane, defensive players they lost a ton of, and he went into the portal to replace a bunch of talent. At Florida, he came in and a bunch of players left, right? We'll go through the transfers out list here. This is all by On3 also. But through the transfers out list, you've got, obviously, and we're going to go by the order that they have it listed on On3. And so it's going to start at corner, but it's Jamrock Grimsley, Aaron Gates, Sharif Denson, Makai Boyrow, Pop Howard, Mac Mulhern, long snapper, Devin Manuel, Marcus Maskell, Noel Portniegan, who is one of the, I think the first player to follow Billy Napier to James Madison. There's Enoch Wangoy, who another international offensive lineman, Hayden Craig, the punter, who went to LSU, DJ Lagway, who is maybe Baylor, but also apparently now Duke is trying to get him now that they've lost Darian Mensah. Jacoby Jackson, Treon Webb, Katie Daniels, Jordan Castell, Teddy Foster, Hayden Hansen, Cameron Kosman, Tony Livingston, Muiz Tonkara, Nate Montgomery, Aiden Mizell, Trey Wilson, and Tank Hawkins. That's a lot of players that, I don't know. I remember when a lot of these guys committed, right? I remember when we were going into the season, we were talking about all these guys potentially contributing, right? And for Florida, like now those guys are out. Contributors, like a lot of those guys at least played a bit. Maybe didn't play great, but at least played a bit. And for Florida, now you're trying to replace all those guys. So Jon Sumrall kind of went back to the approach that he had at Troy and Tulane, right? Of I need to use I see you guys talking in the chat. We'll get to that in the second half of this. But now you go back to how Jon Sumrall approached Troy and Tulane, and you talk about how he can manage this roster. And a lot of it is, okay, I need to go into the transfer portal to get starters, rotational players, and depth pieces. And that's what they did. They went out there like I know that there's some people who would complain about like every take is like, oh, he's not a starter. That's a bad take. Like, that's not how it works. There's plenty of guys that Florida took and did not care if they ever contributed. Like there's, or maybe not did not care, but kind of went in there without saying, hey, we need this guy to be a starter, or we need this guy to do anything, actually contributing. Poor Smart for Brandon losing his boy Hansen. Look, I will say on the Hayden Hansen note, love Hayden, happy for him, good job. still in the SEC, so we'll see that. And so I'll say that for Hayden. But Florida brought in a lot of these guys that are going to come in. And if you get something from them, if you get anything from them, good. But if you don't, that's kind of the expectation. And there's guys, I've been open about that, right? Like Semu Tamanapepe, who committed the other day, the defensive lineman from Baylor, the other defensive lineman from Baylor, the 375-pound one. If you get anything from him, cool. If you don't, that's kind of what I expect. Like I don't expect him to do much because he hasn't done much to this point in his career. Like, I don't know. I just don't expect much there. Like it's tough for me to be like, oh, that's we shouldn't have taken him. Like, hopefully he doesn't have to play, but if he does, at least that size you can't teach. Like, you got something you can't teach. And I think that's kind of where it is. I don't think we need to always just go like, oh, if it's not a star, then I don't want him. That's silly, right? Like, I'm trying to win football games here. You need to experience depth. That's what Florida went and got. Florida got a bunch of guys that have experience and multiple years of eligibility. And that's an important thing to have. I think that you look at that and you say, all right, we're getting guys with experience, because if we get guys with experience, then we can kind of limit what the floor is, right? We're not going to bottom out. If we have to put a true freshman out there, we have no idea what can go on. We don't. We have no idea what he's going to give us. If we bring in, a redshirt sophomore with 600 snaps played, we've at least got some kind of sense of what he's going to bring to the table for us. Okay. And you can feel comfortable with that. And by the way, he's a redshirt sophomore, so we still have a couple years to develop him and make him even better than he already is. Stuff like that matters, especially when you're talking about the team building process, especially when you're talking about the SEC, because you don't want to be thrown into a situation where injuries pile up and then you're playing true freshmen out there. I don't, at least, right? I know I see that it says, thank you, by the way, for the super sticker. It says that, but for some reason, it's not showing me that. It's literally just saying it. So there's that. But with Florida, like, you want to have guys you can develop still. Like, yeah, you took some players that maybe people don't know anything about, right? UCLA defensive back Kanye Clark. A bunch of the fan base, like, they could say whatever opinions they want to have about him. Most of the fan base has never seen him play. You don't know what he's going to be. You don't know what he is. That's it. We know that he is a multi-year player that was a walk-on at UCLA, earned a scholarship, got injured and had to redshirt, and then played both nickel and outside corner last year, and started at outside corner when injuries piled up and he needed to go out there. That's what we know about him. That he's pretty athletic. That's what we know about him. We don't know what he can be once he's developed. We don't know what he's going to be with a good coaching staff and a good strength and conditioning staff. He played for a coaching staff last year that got fired a few weeks into the year. We don't know what the hell he's going to be. We don't know how that works, how that development went. We had no clue. None at all. Like, I think there's a lot of players that you can develop and work with and really improve over the course of their time in Gainesville. And I don't think that enough people consider that when we talk about it. Like, I'm not saying this is the greatest recruiting class of all time. I've been very open. I would have done things differently. I would have put more emphasis on offensive tackle and at nose tackle, probably. I would have gotten another edge rusher. I was very open about that. I was saying, hey, even if you get Jaden Woods, I want to go get Adam Trick. I think he's a damn good edge rusher. And he's going to be a damn good edge rusher at Texas Tech. He's going to be. So I'm not saying it's perfect, but I am saying, like, I see the process. I see the logic behind it, and I've been very open about it. My approach is that as long as I see the logic, even if I disagree with it, I'm not gonna bash it. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't think it makes sense to go, oh, yeah, like, that makes sense, but it's not what I would do, so it's awful. I hate that. So I will say that for Florida, like, I would have done things differently, but I do like the way that they did it still. And I like the way they attacked the transfer portal. We're going to talk more about this transfer portal class when we get back with Locked On Gators. The college football playoff is wrapping up, and the NFL playoffs are in full swing, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs, because right now, every college football playoff game day and every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get profit boosts waiting for them in the app. And FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff or playoffs long, because for some reason we need to specify playoff or playoffs. I don't know why that's different, but it's what it is. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff or NFL playoff profit boost every game day. Thanks, guys, for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. I'm going to scroll up and then work my way down to like the last time that I remember acknowledging the chat. Which here we have T saying, some will be starters, depth pieces, and rotational pieces. Like you said, yeah, that was the thing. You wanted experienced guys so that your floor is raised. Words are hard, man. And you want guys with multiple years of eligibility so that you can develop them and make them better and improve them and raise your ceiling for the future. It's a good approach. It is. It's one that Jon Sumrall has taken and has built through, and that Curt Cignetti is taking and built through, and that Miami has taken and built through. Miami maybe less so with the multi-year guys, but even like they add depth pieces that contribute there. Hasn't even coached a game yet and has made a good impression. Question: we already have one space eater from Baylor. Do we think we need to get one more? Maybe. I forgot who it was, but there's the edge rusher from Baylor that's in the transfer portal. Maybe just go take a swing on him just because you can, right? Why not? Right? Like why not just take a swing on him? I think it's an edge rusher. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's number 51. Yeah. Marion Morgan. 6 pressures on the year. Would have been like 7th on Florida's roster there. But so that is what it is, right? But Kamari Morgan, I'll tell you what, when I was watching DJ Coleman and DK Kalu, and haven't there's not much to watch of Samu Tamanapepe. He's played like 20 snaps. But when I was watching, there were some players on Baylor's defense that I was just like, how the hell is this guy playing Power 4 football? I had just no idea how some of these guys were playing Power 4 football. It was amazing to me. I was stunned. Truly, just like it was wild. I don't know if that was a coaching thing or an evaluation thing, but oh my goodness, some of those guys suck. Just to be completely honest with you. That'll change really quickly if he doesn't win. The honeymoon would be over. I mean, that's another thing too, right? Like Sumrall, when he got hired, people were throwing fits and talking about, how we're going the G5 route again, and how we're not serious about football, and how this is trash, and this is this, and this is that. And then 30 hours later, he did a press conference, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's the greatest coach of all time. It's incredible." And then you lost players to the portal, and people freaked out again. And then you got players in the portal, and people are like, "Oh, we're back. We've never been more back." You lose a game, you lose. I don't know. You lose the Auburn game in week 3, your first SEC game, and man, yeah, that's going to come crashing down real quick. The grass is greenest near the septic tank, and I'm glad we got the crap out of Gainesville. I like that one. Toby. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that. Do you think the overall success of the offense will depend on QB play? I trust Buster, but I'm so scared our talent on offense could at least somewhat go to waste without a consistent QB. Yes and no, right? Because, I mean, the success of an offense in 2026 is almost always going to come down to if your quarterback can show up when you need him. But I do think that with Buster Faulkner's offense, at least, the quarterback is asked to facilitate. Like, he's not asked to play hero ball. Whereas, like with Billy Napier, bad play caller, relatively simple scheme. And the thing with Billy Napier's offense was always like the scheme is outdated, right? I used to say he was running a Shanahan-esque offense, but he was running Mike Shanahan from the 90s, and not Kyle Shanahan, which again will always be one of Billy Napier's biggest flaws, is that there were easy adjustments to make to modernize your attack a bit. And he chose to not do that. And that will always be his biggest downfall. His biggest downfall will always be his ego. That's it. And that sucks, but it is what it is. But Buster Faulkner, his offense is built around getting fast guys in space, right? Speed in space. Getting fast guys the ball with room to run. That's the plan. That's the goal. That's the move. And so for Florida, now you have the quarterback is either Tramel Jones or Aaron Philo, most likely, right? Like I think it should be an open quarterback competition between everybody in that room and just figure out. I think when you have a new coach, especially, it should just be every room is an open competition. And then at the end of it all, like at the end of spring or whatever, we say, this is how we're stacking it up. And I think that should be every room, even like running back, for example, with Jaden Ball. Like just say, hey, it's an open competition. We know you're the best guy. Just go prove it. That's it. And I think you could do that with every room. And if you have guys that you're like, oh, that's clearly the best guy, that or like I know some people go like, oh, it's clearly the best guy. He shouldn't have to compete. Everybody should have to compete. Everybody should. Not everybody does, but everybody should, because if they're the best guys, they'll prove that pretty quickly. So whoever is the starting quarterback, your job is going to be facilitate. We talked about this on yesterday morning show, I think it was. It might have been one of the live shows we did yesterday. But like your job to be a point guard, be Chris Paul, be Rondo. Like that's it. Your job to be a true point guard. Be Tyrese Halliburton if we want to have a more modern point guard. Like be that. But you don't have to be, Luka, right? You could just be a point guard. And so if you could just do that, like the talent at the skill positions is there. I like what they did at tight end in terms of getting dynamic playmakers. We'll see with the blocking, but I like the dynamic playmakers. You've got guys to pass to. Go make some stuff happen there. I don't know why Michael said poor. There it is. Poor. There we go. Brandon is a Sigma. Thanks, brother. John's a winner. We're gonna win. Only issue I have with you saying that is it's Jon, John. What do we have? 3:15 on a Saturday afternoon in the grand old Isle of the United Kingdom, and here Brandon is giving us updates of Florida football every day. I don't know if you know this, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Best class of all time? Maybe not. Better than what we've had? Definitely. Absolutely, Toby. Absolutely. Whole college football quality roster, quoting a friend, played for a coding staff who should have been fired a few weeks into last year. Every school takes development players, low-rated players, etc. Some make it, some don't. I hope Florida could. That's the thing, right? Like, and I do think that's why they took these lower ranked players, which I don't care about the ranking. Like I said, with the portal, like I promise you, 10,000 kids hit the portal this year. I promise you, they did not evaluate 10,000 kids. They didn't do it. They didn't evaluate most of them. The ones that they probably did evaluate, they went, all right, what are the stats? What's your name? Where did you play? That's your ranking. Like, that's what it was. It wasn't, oh, is he the best? What's he do? It wasn't that. Probably couldn't tell you anything about most of these kids. Stuff. I don't care about the rankings. But yes, for some of the lesser known players, the developmental players, I think that's why they took multi-year guys, so they can, all right, you're a developmental player. Like you weren't playing at your last spot for a reason, right? Samu Tamanu Pepe. You weren't playing at your last spot for a reason. You had a couple guys that you brought in that were like that, where it's like, okay, you weren't playing. Why was that? Let's help you fix that. And that was kind of the move. And honestly, I like the move. I'm good with that approach. Say, hey, we're going to get multi-year guys that we can develop and we can work with, and we can make them our standard at the University of Florida. Hope we could put up a good season and get some stud recruits. I think one of the things that gets left out of the portal class analysis is to bring in good enough player numbers to even be able to have a practice. The practice squad is important. Yeah, I mean, that's why you brought in guys like, what's his name? Trent Thomas, the tight end from South Alabama that's on campus. Like, that's why you brought him in for stuff like that. Honest question, what does everyone see our win-loss record last year? I'm going to say 8's my expectation until it's not. Brandon, will you be invited to spring practice? No clue. No clue. The spring game is going to be on April 11th, and I will be trying to make it there. But, like we've said, I live in England for the time being. So until September, I'm supposed to be here. So we'll see what happens, right? Might try to fly out for the spring game. Might try to fly out for some kind of spring setup and just see what's going on there. But we'll see, right? We'll see. A lot of people don't like honest people, so there's stuff with that. But this recruiting class, again, or this transportal class, is one that I really like. I know a lot of people saw a lot of the hype and wanted to get really juiced about some stuff, and I get it, right? I do. You see the Eric Singleton Jr., the Cam Dooley, DJ Coleman, Emmanuel Abadejo, Harrison Moore. Like you see some of these names that you brought in, and Gators. There's a it's tough to explain. But my fiance is going for her master's, and so we moved here while she gets that. I guess that's the quickest way to say it. So we moved here for that. So we're here for a year. And so I know you see like the Eric Singleton Juniors, the Cam Dooleys, like all the big names that Florida brought, or all notable names that Florida brought into the transfer portal, through the transfer portal. And people wanted, like, they want to get pumped, right? And then you talk about the retention of talent, right? Jaden Baugh, Jaden Woods, Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown III, Miles Graham. Like, you talk about the retention of those big five. And so the retention, the influx of talent, the recruiting class is a really good recruiting class. I thought, not a lot of volume, but I think the talent's there with the 2026 signees. And a lot of people want to buy into it and start talking more up. And we like the coaching staff, right? The trenches, the coordinators. But we've been hyped before and things have not gone our way. So I'm tempering my expectations. I really like what they've done. Like pretty much from the moment Jon Sumrall got hired, I like what they've done. And you can go back to when the day Billy Napier got fired, we went live sitting right in this chair. And I spoke about how Jon Sumrall is a name that I would have on my list somewhere. And so he's a coach that's easy to get behind and easy to buy into. But for me, like, I don't know what quarterback's going to look like. And that's going to determine a lot of your success. We have not seen Aaron Philo play a lot. He's thrown 102 passes in his career. We have not seen Tramel Jones play a lot. He's thrown 35 passes in his career. That's not a lot. That's, for some teams, that's like five games for a starting quarterback combined. That ain't a lot. It's tough for me to just look at that and say, like, all right, college football playoff is my expectation. Is it a possibility? I think it's a possibility. Is it a likelihood? I'm not going to say that. I'm not. I'm going to say that this roster is talented. They've done a good job in the transfer portal. Aren't you glad we're not dealing with Lane's antics now? Michael, yeah, I think when you look at this Florida schedule, I don't think it. I know, like, I'm not trying to go like, oh yeah, like these teams are weak, these teams are down, but Florida does have, as I think, one of the easier schedules in the SEC this year, for the first time in a long time. And so I think it's that, you actually have the FCS team. When's to save the date, Brandon? Congrats, didn't know you were engaged. Thank you. Don't have a date yet. Don't have a date for it. But yeah, aren't you glad we're not dealing with Lane's antics now? Look, that was always the thing, right? Like, Lane was always going to have the antics. My point was kind of just, if you win, people will forget everything. That's it. Everything going on right now, if you start winning games come the fall, they'll forget everything. And then they'll deal with your antics during the offseason again. And then you win games and they will forget everything. But the thing is, once you start losing games, they remember everything. That's where it piles up. Of course, Scott, thanks for coming in. Toby said 8-4 will be very nice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Sumrall's worst record is 9-5. When I heard we hired him, I went to instant rage. We hired a G5 guy from Louisiana just to hire another G5 guy. Yep, sure about the G5 stuff, but again, like good coaches come from the G5. And I think that we could talk about the record. I mean, I forgot what Billy Napier's record was when he got hired. When he got hired from Louisiana, Billy Napier's record was 40-12 as a head coach. Okay. So 77% win percentage. Okay. Jon Sumrall's record when he got hired from Tulane, but his entire record as a head coach, which is also 4 years like Billy Napier had, was 43-12, 78% win percentage. So very close. But the difference is that when Billy Napier did it, he had easy schedule, easy. In fact, let me see. In 2018, Billy Napier's first year, they had the 78th schedule. In 2019, Billy Napier's second year, they had the 94th schedule. In his third year, they had the 80th schedule, all Louisiana. And in his fourth and final year, they had the 119th schedule. Okay. And look at the G5, you're not usually going to have, an incredibly difficult schedule. But Billy had a very easy schedule. And I'm not saying that to knock him. I'm saying the facts for this. 2022, Jon Sumrall had the 82nd schedule at Troy. Then he had the 74th at Troy. Okay. Easy schedules there. 2024 at Tulane, 72nd. 2025 at Tulane, 65th. Do you know what the biggest difference was for me? Like when we talk about the schedules there. First off, Jon Sumrall won slightly more games on a considerably harder schedule. I know like the gap isn't huge between the rankings, but the gap in terms of actual strength of schedule is considerably different when you consider like Jon Sumrall is playing like Ole Miss and stuff. And Jon Sumrall, again, the biggest gap was when Jon Sumrall took over at Troy, the transfer portal was already a thing. When Billy Napier took over at Louisiana, the transfer portal wasn't really a thing. When Billy Napier left Louisiana, the transfer portal was just getting crazy. Billy Napier won consistently at Louisiana by out-recruiting everybody in the conference, which is a bonus for him, right? But Billy Napier was consistently the top of the Sun Belt, and was out-recruiting everybody and was not getting his roster completely demolished by the portal every year. Okay? And he won 7, then 11, then 10, then 12. Jon Sumrall won 12 his first year at Troy, won 11 his second year at Troy, then won 9 his first year at Tulane, and then won 11 his second year at Tulane with a college football playoff appearance. And every single year, Jon Sumrall had his roster completely pillaged by other programs. Like that and I'm not even saying that to like be preachy or anything like that. I'm just saying like that's what it is for me that really set them apart was Jon Sumrall had to reload every single year. And that's not easy to do in the group of 5. And he had to do it every single year. And it worked every single year. Billy Napier had guys with just long-term development. He had, better resources than a lot of guys in the Sun Belt. Jon Sumrall did it 2 years in the Sun Belt and then went to the American, easily the best group of 5 conference, arguably better than the ACC. And that's not to just take a shot at the ACC. I think when you look at like the top half of each of those conferences, I think the American could beat most of those teams. And Jon Sumrall did it while consistently reloading. Like that's what it was to me where I was like, look, I don't know if he's going to work at Florida. I still don't know if he's going to work at Florida. I really don't. We don't know what he looks like on the field yet. I don't know what this is going to look like at Florida. We don't know what it's going to look like when maybe he has a year where they win 6 games. We don't know what he's going to respond to or how he's going to respond to that. I know that Florida has a better football coach. I know that Florida has a good football coach right now. You could be a good football coach and things cannot work out. Florida has a good football coach. I'm good with that. Alexander Wright, you're going to lead us out with this. Vandy versus Florida today for SEC supremacy. We will be going live immediately after that game to talk about that game. We'll be going live if there are any commits today. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI and swampsignal.substack.com. We got scouting reports coming out of all the transportal players that we can. We got Emmanuel Oyabadejo's scouting report came out this morning. I'm going to throw that in the chat again right now. There we go. And I will see you all, later.